Okay, students, as you are aware, we are dealing with the guidance and counseling course, and we are in the week number 11 and dealing with lecture number 4, and the topic of the discussion is guidance for students with behavior problems. What we are going to discuss in this lecture, first of all, we will try to understand the meaning of the misbehavior with the help of the definitions. What are the different kinds of the misbehavior which students demonstrate in the classroom, and what are the causes of these behaviors, and what are the functions of educational guidance, functions of guidance with behavior problem, means what can be done or what guidance and counseling strategies can be adopted to bring this population as normal and making their adjustment better in the classroom. Let us start with our discussion with introduction. Students' misbehavior in the class is a great challenge for the teacher. If students are misbehaving in the classroom, the ultimate impact is basically seen on the performance of the teacher and the learning process of the classroom. For many teachers, dealing with the student misbehavior takes up a considerable proportion of teaching time, which in turn affects the quality of a student's learning experiences. Some teachers face difficulty in dealing the problem of the misbehaviors of the student, and the objective which we decide to achieve about teaching are not able to achieve because they are engaged in managing the classroom and managing the misbehavior that ultimately affect the learning process. Student misbehavior retards the smoothness and effectiveness of the teaching and also impact the learning process. If the teacher is engaged in controlling the misbehavior, definitely his roles becomes as an administrator or manager of the classroom rather than the teacher, and the teacher have a responsibility to teach, and he has some determined or predetermined goals to achieve in the classroom. If the classroom misbehavior or student misbehavior is creating difficulty for them, then definitely the whole learning is going to be impacted. Lowered academic achievement and increased delinquent behavior are found to be associated with the student misbehavior. Number of researches have been conducted by taking the sample of the misbehavior, and they have lead to the conclusion that lower academic achievements and increased delinquent behaviors are found to be associated. If the child is having difficulty or showing misbehavior, then ultimately it is bound to impact on his or her academic achievement, because he or she is engaged in the misbehavior and not paying attention to the learning process and the content being taught by the student, questions asked by the student, and interaction made by the teacher in the classroom. So if the person is not attentive and paying attention to the learning process, it is bound to influence the academic achievement and overall personality development of that individual. Now, what is the definition of the misbehavior? In the opinion of Downing, when a youngster's conduct is disturbing the others, interferes with normal procedure of the school, or results in his or her being a nuisance, he may be regarded having behavior problems. Here we need to understand, in the light of this definition, that misbehavior is basically considered that behavior which is creating nuisance in the classroom, in the institution, and it is interfering the normal procedure of the school. And if minor misbehavior is present or mild misbehavior is present by is demonstrated by the student in the classroom and the schools, that is not basically considered as a misbehavior, because that can be corrected by little guidance of the teacher or by making them aware about the rules and regulations. So simple asking the students to be attentive Sometimes students have the tendency, because of the young stage, they have the uh, characteristic features of being disturbed quite easily. So if the teacher is maintaining or controlling that misbehavior in the classroom, and his learning process is not being affected, that behavior does not come under the misbehavior category. Student classroom misbehaviors, how we can identify that the student is basically expressing what kind of behavior. There are so many behaviors, and these have been identified on the basis of the researchers, and they have listed all kinds of the behaviors for the sake of understanding of the teachers and for the sake of understanding of their parents, as well as for the counselors. The most common student misbehavior reported by various authors and researchers are disruptive talking, chronic avoidance of work, clowning means joking or funning behavior, interfering with teaching activities, harassing classmates, providing verbal insult to another student, behaving in a rudeness manner, become are habitual failures in submitting assignments, always submit the delayed assignment, make a delay in every activities, use of abusive languages, making remarks, teacher defiance and hostility, disrespect and backtalk, demonstrate aggressive behavior, violent behavior, tendency of lying is also demonstrated. They engage in lying, seek the harm, intimidate or coerce and manipulation, lack of motivation and laziness, purposeless movements, moving from one place to the another place in the classroom, arguing and daydreaming. These are some of the characteristic features. And complaining, complaining, always complaining and interrupting the classroom, overactive in the classroom, uh, demonstrating a sign of overactiveness, talking out of turn, non-attending the classroom, playing electronic games in the classroom if allowed by the teachers to take that in the classroom, and surfing web pages and using social media and WhatsApp, etc. These are basically the misbehaviors demonstrated by the student. Here we need to understand one aspect, and it should be clear in our mind. Okay, if we are talking about the misbehavior, we have presented before you the list of the misbehaviors. If consistently the person is engaging in these kinds of the behavior, and after taking the corrective steps or motivation by the teachers, the person is still engaging in that kind of behavior, that is basically considered as misbehavior of that category, where we have to take some special measures and we have to provide counseling and guidance session for that individual to make him or her a normal behaving person in the class and in the school. Why this misbehavior is basically uh, projected by the students in school and classrooms? There are so many reasons, or the causes of the student misbehavior, and the first one is the family environment, second is the school environment, third is the socio-cultural environment, and fourth is the peer influences. Let us understand how the family is impacting on the misbehaviors. Family is the most important primary institution which exercises its powerful influence on entire behavior pattern of the individual. Socio-economic conditions of the family play a significant role in providing the type of environment for the child. To what extent child's physical, emotional needs are being met in the family? The encouragement, motivation, support, guidance, loving, accepting and democratic environment provided in the family have a bearing on the adjustment of the child. All these aspects, if all these aspects are positive, the child will behave in a positive manner. If all these experiences are negative, the child may experience misbehavior or adopt that misbehavior and bring that misbehavior into the school condition also. If inadequacies, deprivation and inconsistencies characterize the home, the child will enter school with stress, anxiety and other personality problems. They Students are bringing their problem which they have nurtured in the family environment, and that is creating problem to the individual and to the entire classroom, students and the teachers, and ultimately to the school and the community. The resultant impact of negative family environment is reflected in the form of misbehavior in the classroom. School sometimes also becomes a factor in inducing the element of misbehavior. There are most important factors related to the school. The teachers are there, students are also there, curriculum we teach, infrastructure facilities available in that, and administrative setup of that institution, and overall culture of that school all matters in influencing positive as well as negative in a negative and positive manner on the life of the student. Positive school experiences help students in making better adjustment. The improper methods of teaching, lack of support and guidance, partiality, prejudices and injustices, physical abuse, neglect, rejection, meager infrastructure of the school and improper importance given to co-curricular activities make the entire school environment unattractive, boring and unpleasant, and chances of mental health, and which and enhances the mental health in a negative manner. So if students are exposed in a non attentive environment or negative environment induced by the environment of the school, that is also becomes a factor for inducing the misbehavior among the student. Personality of the third aspect is related to the socio-cultural environment. Personality of the individual is also influenced by the socio-cultural environment in which it has developed. There are different cultures in our society. We have the rural and urban culture, we have the rich and poor people culture, culture of educated and uneducated people, culture based on customs, traditions, religions, regions and castes and other aspects also. There are positive and the negatives in each culture. A person may have brought with him either positive or negative influences to the school and behaves accordingly. So, sometimes socio-cultural aspects are also become responsible in using the misbehavior issue among the student. And the fourth one is basically related to the peer influences. Peer influence is quite apparent at all stages, but it is more dominant among adolescents. Peer influence can be positive. For example, the child might be influenced to become more assertive, more involved in activities of the school, but peer influence can be negative also. So peer influence has a very powerful impact on the upbringing and behavior pattern of the students. Some teenagers might choose to try things they normally would not to be interested, like smoking, stealing, physical outrage, cruelty, and other antisocial behaviors. In this way, student misbehavior can be the result of negative peer influences. As we say, okay, the friends should be the good if we are to learn the better personality, to learn the better aspects of their personality. If friend circle is having the people who are associated to many antisocial behaviors, then other students will also get the influence of that in a negative manner. So there we have discussed four important factors here, okay, about the family environment, causes of the student misbehavior, and among all these causes, family is the most important influencing factor, and school also contributes in a positive and negative manner, and socio-cultural environments are also there, and peer influence is also very powerful, particularly among teenagers. and the children. Functions of guidance with behavior problems. What are the functions of the guidance in this regard? We will discuss now. Effective teaching strategies. We can adopt the effective teaching strategies using skills to respond to misbehavior, referring the serious misbehavior problem, objective appraisal of the student misbehavior, and at number 5 we will talk about the sharing information with teachers, uh, and establishing contact with home, and organizing group guidance activities, establishing counseling contacts in case of the individual counseling, conducting action researches in order to know the real causes or actual causes related to that, and we will also consider the positive role of the administrator in resolving this issue, and then we will talk about the influence of the co-curricular activities and how the counselor is able to solve academic problem and creating a democratic and a school environment. These are basically the functions, and the first and the foremost important thing is effective teaching strategies. Let me tell you in a very nutshell about the effective teaching strategies. Effective teaching strategies is basically related to achieve the stipulated objectives of the uh, uh, teaching. The teacher enters in the classroom with certain objectives. If the teacher is not doing the task or engaging the student in the effective teaching methods, then it is bound to influence negatively on the impact on the personality aspects of the students. In, in such condition, student may not be attentive, and there is a possibility in engaging such behaviors which are considered inappropriate. If the teacher is not using the teaching method as per the need and the requirement of the student, then students will not be attentive in the class and they will engage in some other activities. They will talk with each other, they will play with each other, and they will not show respect to the teachers. And slowly, when they are engaged in such kinds of the behavior on consistent manner, then the teacher loses its control on the students. So the real solution is that we have to ensure teaching effective teaching strategies, and more than 50% problems of the students are automatically resolved if the teacher is engaging himself or herself in the effective teaching strategies. Using skills to respond to misbehaviors, a judicious use of various teaching skills, because skills are very important. For example, we are adopting certain strategies, calling out the name of the behaving students, instructing the student to be attentive, asking questions from that student, asking a student not to disturb teaching atmosphere, and reminding a student to follow rules and in maintaining classroom discipline, warning students in a soft voice are some of the verbal interventions which might be useful in controlling the misbehavior of the student. So teachers, by using effective teaching and in making effective teaching, he or she is using the skills in maintaining classroom discipline and controlling the misbehavior of the students. To mild type of misbehavior or minor type of misbehaviors are automatically solved by using the effective teaching and skills used by the teacher. Referring the serious misbehavior problems, teacher should also consider, okay, his task is basically to correct the minor type of misbehavior. He or she should not enter to resolve the uh, um, serious types of the misbehaviors, because that goes in the domain of the counselor. Teachers should understand their limitations in this regard and confine their efforts to work only mild misbehavior problem only. So teachers should apprise the counselor about the behavior after referring that individual to the teachers, to the counselor. Okay, what kind of characteristic features are displayed by the misbehaving students in different situations. So teacher interacting with the misbehaving students on regular basis is well aware about the type of misbehavior and the circumstances in which he or she has demonstrated that behavior. This kind of information he can or she can furnish to the counselor in addition to referring to that child to correct the misbehavior. Now, at 4 number, objective appraisal of the student. Misbehavior, use of appropriate measuring devices is the first step. It should be followed by the proper interpretation of test results by the counselor. Keen observation of the behavior of the students in various activities in the classroom and outside the classroom by the teacher is also helpful for knowing the misbehavior. So, teachers as well as the counselors are observing day-to-day engagement of the student in day-to-day activities, and they become aware about the type of misbehavior, and there are many tests available to identify the personality traits of the students. So, objective appraisal is very important if you are really interested in resolving their issues. Sharing information with teachers, whatever coordinated efforts of both the counselor and the teachers are essential to identify the possible causes of the student misbehavior and consider appropriate methods and procedures to address the problem in an effective manner. Teachers are benefited with shared professional knowledge of the counselor in dealing with the adjustment problem of the student in teaching learning process. So, sharing of information between the teachers and the counselor, some information teacher is passing to the counselor and there are some other information related to the misbehavior are being transferred by the counselor or being apprised by the counselor to the teachers. So, sharing of information also helps in controlling the misbehavior. Establishing contact with the home, because parents are not aware about the difficulties faced by the student and learning disabled person. So, coordinated efforts of the counselor and their parents will help create a propitious or conducive environment needed to shape the behavior of the child in a positive manner. So, many issues becomes very clear by the student appraisal done by the counselor as well as observation of the teachers, and these characteristic features can be shared with the parents and we can establish contact with the home in this regard. Organizing group guidance activities, there are so many issues which can be tackled by organizing group guidance activities. They can be the orientation program, they can be the lectures, they can be the discussions, and they can be uh, conferences and the seminars. And learning in group situation is most effective and impressive also. Students express themselves, they discuss and observe the negativity associated to the misbehavior, and this organization of the group guidance activities becomes instrumental in learning many aspects. Establishing counseling context. The problem of his behavior can be addressed by making personal contact with the student, their personal contact between counselor and the student. Counseling context means that the counselor is providing counseling on individual basis. He is counseling to the student, counseling to the parents, and counseling to the teachers. Conducting action researches. We also need to conduct the researches, and action research means misbehavior problems may vary from institution to the institution and from situation to the situation. So, action researches can be conducted to evaluate the causes of the student misbehavior, and strategies may be planned in the light of the obtained results. It is essential that teachers should demonstrate the skill and competency in conducting the action researches. The counselor should provide necessary assistance to the teacher by providing needed tools for research and making concrete interpretations of that results. So, action researches becomes very instrumental in providing assistance to this population. Role of the administrator is also very important, because administrator should demonstrate genuine concern to ensure that optimum adjustment of all student to all school experiences, and should constantly inquire about the areas in which the student facing difficulty in making adjustment. He should also increase interaction with teachers and the counselors and as well as the parents and other stakeholders who are directly connected to the students. The role of the administrator becomes very important. If the administrator is positive and wants to resolve the issues of the misbehavior, then he has to provide full cooperation to the counselor and the teachers and the available resources for that task. Providing variety of co-curricular activities, these are very instrumental in basically developing the social skill and engaging the energies of the students in a right direction. There are many students who love to participate in games and sports and other cultural activities and get satisfaction while participating in it. Their emotional stability is enhanced, their social participation is enhanced. There are schools where such kinds of facilities are not available, then these activities must be organized so by the institution in order to provide opportunities for the student to work in a team spirit, in a coordinated manner and in a collaborative manner. Solving educational problems, students who find it difficult to understand the curriculum for facing difficulty in any one of the subject are more likely to demonstrate symptoms of maladjustment in their behavior. If problem persists for a longer period of time and no support becomes available, it may affect the proper adjustment of the student. Misbehavior occurs often has a close relationship with low academic ability and lower achievement. So we need to provide assistance in resolving the basic learning skills of the student like reading, writing, comprehension and mathematics, and allowing them to be attentive and making them aware about the significance of the learning process, constantly evaluating their progress. These are basically the steps which the counselor and the teachers can apply in providing a basic positivity in the minds of the student, creating democratic environment. Encouraging supportive and stimulating school environment provides psychological satisfaction and assists the student to draw maximum benefit from school experiences. This is most important aspect in controlling the misbehavior of the student. Democracy believes in equality, believes in in brotherhood, concept of equal opportunity as the justice. Emotional stability we need to maintain by providing democratic environment in the classroom, outside the classroom. So both type of environment, both and democratic environment not only in the classroom, rather outside the classroom is always helpful for engagement of the students in the learning process. Cooperative and ample freedom for child, cooperation and ample freedom for the child to interact with classmates and the teacher without any hesitation is highly important, as an aggressive, domineer and demanding attitude of the teacher brings frustration and anxiety to the student. So these are basically aspects which we can take. Let me remind you some of the important aspects which are very essential in controlling the misbehavior. The first and the foremost responsibilities lies on the teachers. They have to make effective teaching and they have to use the skills how to engage students in the learning process and minimize the minor type of the behavior. If the behavior is persisting for a longer period of the time and the students in spite of using the skills are not maintaining better behavior or discipline in the classroom, this must be taken very seriously by the teacher and that student should be referred to the counselor, and some related information should be provided by the teacher to the counselor. We need to get the exact cause of the student misbehavior, that is objective appraisal of the student misbehavior. Type of personality And we need to share this information with the teachers, because teachers also can modify their teaching, and they can also address some kinds of misbehaviors in the classroom also. Then we need to take the cooperation of the home, that is the parents, because parents are also responsible in cooperating and handling the issue of the misbehavior. Then we have to organize the group counseling sessions for students in the classroom at regular basis, and here uh, some sessions of the counseling contests can also be conducted. And action research are also the need of the hours, because action research gives you the idea about how to get the result of that and use the result in a real situation. Role of the administrator is also very important, and we need to use the co-curricular activities for enhancing their cooperation, enhancing their involvement, and allowing them to develop their social skills and to be emotionally stable. Solving educational problem is also very important, because many times students face difficulty in educational aspect and they become inattentive and create disturbance that becomes a habit, and they engage in the misbehavior in the coming years. So democratic environment is also very important. Let us conclude our lecture. Guiding students with behavior problem involves a supportive, proactive and consistent approach focused on understanding the root causes of teaching new skills rather than just using punitive measures. The core principles in this regard are: number one, understand that challenging behavior is often a symptom of an unmet need, frustration, or an underdeveloped skill. We need to understand there are certain causes of the misbehaviors. Focus on building a positive, trusting relationship with the student for encouraging positive change. And the third one is modify the environment and teaching methods to prevent challenging behaviors before they occur. And the last one is respond to misbehaviors calmly and apply rules. And if the teacher is finding misbehavior beyond his or her control, then he should seek the cooperation of the counselor in this regard. So with this, if we will apply these things, then we will be able to manage the misbehavior problems in a better manner. Now we have concluded our lecture. Thanks for your patience hearing, and God bless you all.